The courtroom fell silent as 7-year-old Theodora Ashford climbed onto the witness stand, her small hands gripping the rail. Every eye in the packed gallery fixed on the child whose mother sat in chains, accused of witchcraft. The Duke of Stonebridge stood rigid beside the defendant's box, his jaw clenched so tight it ached. Dr. Cornelius Wainwright, the king's own physician, sneered from across the room, confident in his impending victory. "Tell us, child," the prosecutor's voice dripped with false sympathy. "What did you see your mother do in the dead of night? What words did she speak over the dying?" Thea's chin lifted, her grey eyes blazing with a courage that belied her years.
"My mother doesn't speak to demons, sir. She speaks to fevers."
The prosecutor leaned closer, smelling blood. "And how does one speak to a fever, little girl? Through spells? Incantations?" Thea opened her mouth, then closed it. Her hands gripped the rail tighter. Her face flushed red. "She does it through," she stopped, frustrated tears springing to her eyes. The word wouldn't come. The prosecutor's smile widened. "Take your time, child. Or perhaps you can't explain it because even you don't understand your mother's dark practices." "That's not true." Thea's voice cracked. "Papa taught her witch plants." She struggled, her tongue betraying her in this crucial moment. "Witch plants help people." She squeezed her eyes shut, fighting for the words. "The child can't even speak clearly," the prosecutor announced to the courtroom. "Likely touched by the same dark forces that possess her mother." Nicholas half rose from his seat, fury in his voice. "She's 7 and terrified." The magistrate banged his gavel. "Order! Your Grace, control yourself." Thea's tears spilled over. She looked at her mother desperately, and Genevieve's heart shattered at the helplessness in her daughter's eyes. Nicholas Harcourt felt his heart crack open. This was the moment everything would change. This was the moment he'd either lose everything or finally understand what everything meant. But that moment was still weeks away, and it began, like all great disasters and greater loves, with an unexpected return home. Before we continue with how a duke fell desperately in love with an accused witch, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with anyone who believes in love that defies all odds. Now, let us go back to where it all began. 3 months earlier, Nicholas Harcourt, Duke of Stonebridge, was thoroughly done with London. Done with simpering debutantes who saw only his title. Done with matchmaking mamas who calculated his worth down to the last acre. Done with the suffocating weight of duty that threatened to crush whatever remained of his soul. The carriage wheels crunched over the gravel drive of Willowmere House just as twilight painted the sky in shades of amber and violet. Nicholas had sent no word of his early return. He craved solitude the way a drowning man craved air. His remote country estate, abandoned for the season, promised blessed emptiness, which made the candlelight flickering in the east wing windows utterly wrong. Nicholas's hand went instinctively to the pistol he kept in the carriage. Squatters? Thieves? He'd dismissed most of the staff for his absence. Only Davis, his valet, and the housekeeper, Mrs. Pritchard, should be present, and they kept to the servants' quarters. He approached the house on foot, leaving his startled driver with the horses. The front door stood unlocked. Inside, the scent of lavender and something he couldn't quite describe hung in the air. Voices drifted from the drawing room. A woman's voice, soft and calm, followed by a child's laughter, as bright as bells. Nicholas's jaw tightened. Someone had made themselves remarkably comfortable in his absence. He pushed open the drawing room door without announcement. 2 figures looked up from where they sat by the fire. A woman in her late 20s, dark hair escaping its pins, rose frantically to her feet. She wore a simple grey dress that had seen better days, but carried herself with unconscious elegance. Beside her, a girl of perhaps 7 clutched a rag doll, her grey eyes wide with surprise. "Your Grace." The woman's voice didn't shake, though her face had gone pale. "We weren't expecting you. That much is certain." Nicholas kept his tone glacial. "Perhaps you'd care to explain why you're in my drawing room, wearing my late aunt's dress, burning my candles." The woman's chin lifted slightly. "I am Dr. Genevieve Ashford. This is my daughter, Theodora. And you're quite right. We have no business being here. Did you say doctor? Nicholas's eyebrows rose. Madam, I don't know what game you're playing, but... It's not a game, Your Grace. Her voice remained steady, but her hand found her daughter's shoulder, protective. I'm a physician. Or I was. Before they decided women who heal are witches. The word hung in the air like smoke. Nicholas studied her more carefully. Intelligent eyes, capable hands marked with small scars, the upright bearing of someone accustomed to authority. Not a common vagrant. Mama's not a witch, the child piped up, her voice fierce. Tell him, Mama. Tell him how you saved little Tommy's leg. Hush, Thea. Genevieve's fingers tightened on her daughter's shoulder. Your Grace, I can explain, but perhaps not in front of the child. Before Nicholas could respond, footsteps hurried down the hall. Mrs. Pritchard burst into the room, her face flushed with anxiety. Your Grace. I didn't hear the carriage. I was in the kitchen, and she looked between Nicholas and Genevieve, wringing her hands. Oh dear. Your Grey, I can explain. Someone had better, Nicholas said coldly. Mrs. Pritchard drew herself up. It was me, Your Grace. I gave Dr. Ashford permission to stay. She saved my grandson's life. Tommy had the fever, burning so hot we thought he'd die. The surgeon said to bleed him, but Dr. Ashford knew better. She brought the fever down with cool cloths and willow bark tea. My grandson lives because of her. And you thought that somehow, this gave you authority to install strangers in my home? Nicholas said, enraged. Not strangers, Your Grace. A healer. The village has needed one these 5 years since old Dr. Marsh died. Mrs. Pritchard's voice grew stronger. Dr. Ashford has delivered 3 babies, set 2 broken bones, and cured more fevers than I can count in the 4 months she's been here. All for free. All from the goodness of her heart. Nicholas looked at Genevieve sharply. 4 months. You've been living in my house for 4 months. In the servants' quarters, Genevieve clarified quickly. We've touched nothing of value, Your Grace. I've been using the old still room for my work, and Thea and I sleep in the maids' rooms above the kitchen. We've been discreet. Discreet. Nicholas almost laughed. You've been treating half the countryside from my property, and you call that discreet? Would you have preferred I let them die? For the first time, heat entered Genevieve's voice. Your tenants, Your Grace. Your own people. They had no one. They had a surgeon in the next village. Nicholas responded. A butcher with a license, you mean? Genevieve's eyes flashed. He bleeds everything that moves and calls it medicine. I've saved 3 people from his treatments alone. Mama, Thea whispered, tugging her mother's skirt. You're being too bold. Genevieve's expression softened immediately. She knelt beside her daughter. You're right, darling. I apologize. She rose and faced Nicholas squarely. Your Grace, I overstepped terribly. We'll pack our things and be gone by morning. Where will you go? The question escaped before Nicholas could stop it. Something flickered across Genevieve's face. Fear, quickly masked. That's not your concern. Mama, Thea's voice was very small. Will the bad men find us again? Genevieve's composure cracked just slightly. No, sweetheart. We'll be careful. Nicholas looked between mother and daughter, then at Mrs. Pritchard's pleading expression, and felt the foundations of his orderly world beginning to shift. He thought of the estate ledgers waiting in his study, the grim accounting of failed harvests and struggling tenants he'd been avoiding all season. Mrs. Pritchard, he said slowly, you mentioned the village is healthier. The housekeeper nodded eagerly. Oh yes, Your Grace. We haven't lost a soul to fever all summer. The children are thriving. Even old Mr. Wexley's rheumatism improved with Dr. Ashford's ointments. Healthy tenants meant productive tenants. Productive tenants meant income. Income meant he might not have to marry Lady Cordelia Fairchild and her appalling personality after all. Nicholas made a decision he'd later recognize as the most important of his life. No need to pack your bags. You'll stay. Genevieve's eyes widened. You'll stay, he repeated. But on my terms. You'll continue treating the tenants, but quietly. No advertising, and no drawing attention from neighboring parishes. You'll keep to the servants' quarters and maintain absolute discretion. He paused. And you'll explain to me exactly who these bad men are, that have you fleeing in the night with a child. Genevieve stood very still. Why would you help us? I'm not helping you, Nicholas said flatly. I'm helping my estate. Healthy workers are profitable workers. Consider yourself employed, Dr. Ashford. I don't need charity, Your Grace. That's splendid. Because I don't give it. You'll earn your keep. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. And Dr. Ashford, whatever you're running from, it stays outside my gates. Bring trouble to Willowmere, and you'll answer for it. He left before she could respond, before he could examine too closely why the relief in her eyes made his chest tighten. In the drawing room, Thea looked up at her mother with wide eyes. Mama, is he always that grumpy? Genevieve laughed shakily, surprising herself. I suspect he is, darling. He has sad eyes, Thea observed with a child's devastating insight. Like how I get when I lose something. Genevieve pulled her daughter close, not answering. She'd seen that sadness too, recognized it as something matching the hollow ache she carried in her own chest. Two broken people under one roof, bound by necessity and secrets. What could possibly go wrong? The first week passed in careful avoidance. Nicholas buried himself in estate business, reviewing 5 years of neglected ledgers. Genevieve tended the sick, moving like a ghost through the servants' passages. They circled each other like wary cats, never quite meeting, until Thea decided otherwise. Nicholas was in the library, scowling at crop rotation schedules, when a small voice said, "You're doing it wrong." He looked up to find Thea perched on the arm of a chair, studying his papers upside down. I beg your pardon. The numbers. You're adding when you should subtract. She pointed at his calculations with one grubby finger. Mama taught me maths. You've forgotten to add this part, she said, pointing to the price of seeds Nicholas had missed. He stared at this imp who'd invaded his sanctuary, and she stared back, unimpressed by his ducal glower. Your mother teaches you mathematics? He asked. And anatomy. Thea swung her legs. I can name all the bones in the hand. Want to hear? Not particularly. Scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, pisiform. Good God, stop. Nicholas pinched the bridge of his nose. Shouldn't you be playing with dolls? Dolls are boring. They can't teach you anything. Thea cocked her head. Why are you so grumpy all the time? The bluntness startled a laugh from him. I'm not grumpy. Yes, you are. Mrs. Pritchard says you've been grumpy since your sister died. Is that true? The laughter died almost immediately. That's not appropriate conversation, young lady. Why not? Everyone dies. Mama says it's natural. Thea studied him with disconcerting intensity. Were you there when she died? No. The word came out harsher than intended. I was in London, being useless at a ball while she bled to death in childbirth because the surgeon was drunk and the midwife was equally incompetent. He hadn't meant to say it. Hadn't spoken it aloud in 3 years. But something about this child's fearless honesty stripped away his defenses. Thea nodded solemnly. Mama could have saved her. She saved lots of mothers. Your mother wasn't there. But someone like her could have been. If people weren't so stupid about women doctors. Thea slid off the chair. I'm going to be a doctor too, when I grow up. I'll save all the sisters. She skipped out, leaving Nicholas gripping his pen so hard it cracked. That night, he found himself in the old greenhouse, seeking solitude. He stopped short, noticing that Genevieve was there, kneeling among terracotta pots, her hands deep in soil. Moonlight silvered her dark hair. I didn't mean to disturb you, he said. She looked up, startled. Your Grace. I was just planting foxglove for heart ailments." She gestured at the chaos around her. "I hope you don't mind. The greenhouse was empty, and these plants are essential." Nicholas looked at the rows of labeled pots, the neat diagrams pinned to the walls, the careful organization of a scientific mind. "Your daughter visited me today." Genevieve's hands stilled. "I'm so sorry. I'll speak to her about boundaries. She reminded me of the happenings surrounding my sister's death." "Oh God." Genevieve stood quickly, wiping her hands. "Your Grace, she shouldn't have. She was right." The words hurt coming out. "Someone like you could have saved Catherine. But women aren't allowed to practice medicine, so my sister died screaming while a drunk surgeon butchered her." Genevieve's expression softened with understanding. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Is that so?" Nicholas heard the bitterness in his voice. "Or are you just sorry that the world is too blind to see what it needs?" She met his eyes directly. "Your sister deserved better. Every woman deserves better." They stood in silence, the space between them charged with shared grief and something else, something neither was ready to name. "Teach me," Nicholas said abruptly. "What?" "Your work. I want to understand it. If I'm to protect you from accusations of witchcraft, I need to defend it as science." Genevieve studied him warily. "Why would you do that?" "Because Thea was right. I've been grumpy since Catherine died. And you're right too. The world is blind." He gestured at her plants. "So show me how to make it see." So began their evenings in the greenhouse. Genevieve taught. Nicholas learned. She showed him how willow bark eased pain, how certain molds fought infection, how understanding the body's systems could save lives. He shared estate records, revealing patterns between health and prosperity. They talked. God, how they talked. About medicine and philosophy, about duty and choice, about the sister he'd lost and the husband she'd mourned. "William was brilliant," Genevieve said one evening, crushing lavender between her fingers. "He taught me everything, let me assist in surgeries. When patients praised him, he'd say, 'My wife made the diagnosis.' He never took credit for what wasn't his." "How did he die?" Nicholas asked softly. Her hands stilled. "Protecting me. The medical board came to arrest me for practicing without license. William claimed all the work was his, that I was merely his assistant. They beat him for lying." Her voice went flat. "His heart gave out 3 days later. The irony is, I could have saved him if they'd let me try." Nicholas reached across the workbench, covering her hand with his. "I'm sorry." She didn't pull away. "So am I." The moment stretched between them, fragile and profound. Then Thea's voice called from the house, breaking the spell. "Mama, Mrs. Pritchard says the baker's wife has started her labor." Genevieve was on her feet instantly. "I have to go." "I'm coming with you." She blinked. "Your Grace, it's not necessary." "It is. If you're caught alone, they'll say you're sneaking about doing devil's work. If the Duke accompanies his guest, it's an act of Christian charity." Understanding dawned in her eyes. "You're protecting me." "I'm protecting my investment," he lied again, and followed her into the night. The birth was difficult. Nicholas waited outside the cottage, listening to muffled cries and Genevieve's calm, commanding voice. Hours passed. He paced, remembering Catherine's screams, feeling helpless rage build in his chest. Then a baby's cry split the night. Minutes later, Genevieve emerged, blood on her sleeves and joy on her face. A girl. Both healthy. Nicholas sagged against the cottage wall, trembling with relief he didn't understand. "You saved them." "I did my job." But she smiled at him, radiant in the lamplight, and something in his chest cracked wide open. He loved her. The realization hit him like a runaway horse. He loved this fierce, brilliant, impossible woman who spoke to fevers and defied the world. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're feeling the chemistry between these two. Drop a comment telling us what you think happens next, because trust me, Things are about to get complicated. 2 weeks later, during a violent autumn storm, everything changed. Nicholas was riding the estate boundaries when he heard screams from the river. A tenant's boy had fallen through thin ice. Without thinking, Nicholas spurred his horse forward, plunging into the freezing water. He got the boy out. But he also took a vicious blow to the shoulder from a floating log and cracked ribs when his horse threw him on the bank. Mrs. Pritchard and Davies got him home, half-conscious and bleeding. Genevieve met them at the door, taking one look before issuing rapid commands. Get him to his chambers. Hot water. Clean linens. Thea, fetch my medical bag. Nicholas drifted in and out of awareness as she worked. He felt her cut away his shirt, heard her sharp intake of breath at the wound. Deep laceration. Possible infection risk. The ribs will need binding. Her hands were gentle but sure, cleaning the wound, stitching with tiny, precise movements. Nicholas watched her face through a haze of pain, noting the fierce concentration, the slight furrow between her brows. You're staring, Your Grace, she murmured. You're beautiful when you work. Her hands paused. You're delirious. Am I? He caught her wrist weakly. Genevieve. Hush. Save your strength. But fever was already rising, infection setting in despite her care. For 3 days, Nicholas burned. Genevieve never left his side. She cooled his fever, changed his dressings, forced medicines between his lips. Thea brought flowers and read him stories in her piping voice. In his delirium, Nicholas spoke truths he'd never dare voice conscious. Catherine died because I wasn't there. Because I chose a ball over family. I'm so tired of choosing wrong. Genevieve's cool hand smoothed his hair. You're choosing right now. I'm choosing you. God help me, Genevieve, I'm choosing you. Rest, Nicholas. Just rest. Do you hear me? I love you. I love your brilliant mind and your gentle hands and the way you fight for the powerless. I love how Thea has your courage. I hear you, she whispered. I hear you. On the 4th morning, the fever broke. Nicholas woke to find Genevieve asleep in the chair beside his bed, dark circles under her eyes, her hand still resting on his wrist to monitor his pulse. He watched her sleep and remembered everything he'd said. Horror and hope warred in his chest. She stirred, felt his gaze. You're awake. How do you feel? Like I was kicked by a horse and drowned in a river. Accurate assessment. She reached for his wrist professionally, counting his pulse. The fever's gone. You'll recover fully. Genevieve. What I said was fever talk. People say many things in delirium. But she wouldn't meet his eyes. Look at me. She did, finally, and he saw his own longing reflected there, mixed with fear. It wasn't delirium. Nicholas, don't. I love you. You can't. Her voice broke. You're a duke. I'm an accused witch with a bastard child. Thea isn't. She is. William and I never married. The church wouldn't allow it once they knew I practiced medicine. She's illegitimate in the eyes of the law. I don't care. You should. Genevieve stood abruptly. You have duties. Obligations. There's an heiress waiting in London. Whom I don't love. Love isn't enough. They'll destroy you for associating with me. And when they come for me, because they will, you'll be ruined too. Nicholas pushed himself up despite the pain. Then let them come. I'll fight them. You can't fight the entire medical establishment, the church, and society itself. Watch me. They stared at each other, both breathing hard. Then Genevieve fled, leaving Nicholas aching with more than physical wounds. But fate, it seemed, had no patience for their hesitation. That very night, a rider arrived from London. Nicholas's mother was dying. Nicholas stood in his mother's London bedside chamber, watching Catherine Harcourt, Dowager Duchess of Stonebridge, waste away. The royal physician, Dr. Cornelius Wainwright, had just finished his examination with great theatrical flourish. More bloodletting, Your Grace. It's the only way to balance her humors. Nicholas looked at his mother's pale face, at the basin of blood already taken. She's dying from your treatments, not her illness. Wainwright's eyes narrowed. I've served the royal family for 20 years. Are you questioning my expertise? I'm questioning your methods. Then find another physician. Though I warn you, the medical board will hear of your insolence. Wainwright swept from the room, leaving Nicholas alone with his dying mother. Catherine's eyes fluttered open. Still making friends, I see. Mother. Nicholas gripped her frail hand. I'm sending for someone. A physician who actually heals rather than bleeds people dry. The woman from your letters. Catherine smiled weakly. The one you're in love with. I never said. Darling boy, you write about estate health with more passion than most men discuss their mistresses. I can read between the lines. She coughed, blood flecking her lips. Bring her. If she can save me, wonderful. If not, at least I'll meet the woman who brought my son back to life. Nicholas wrote to Genevieve that night, begging for guidance. She sent encrypted medical advice through Davies, his valet. Nicholas followed her instructions exactly, implementing treatments that flew in the face of Wainwright's protocols. Within a week, Catherine began improving. Color returned to her cheeks. Her cough eased. She could sit up without fainting. Wainwright noticed. What have you been giving her? Broth. Rest. Clean air. Nicholas met his glare steadily. Novel concepts, I realize. Someone is undermining my treatment. I demand to know who. Get out of my house. Wainwright left, but Nicholas saw the calculation in his eyes. The royal physician had made a career of eliminating competition. He wouldn't let this insult pass. 3 days later, during a ball where Nicholas was expected to propose to Lady Cordelia Fairchild, Davies burst into the ballroom, propriety forgotten. Your Grace. Willowmere. The constables have come. Nicholas's blood turned to ice. What? Dr. Wainwright filed formal charges. Witchcraft, poisoning patients, practicing medicine without license. They've issued a warrant for Dr. Ashford's arrest. The ballroom spun. Nicholas saw Lady Cordelia approaching with her father, saw the life he was supposed to accept closing around him like a trap. He saw Genevieve's face in his mind, Thea's fierce grey eyes. I have to go. Your Grace, Cordelia's father sputtered. You can't leave your own ball. I can. I am. Nicholas turned to Cordelia directly. Lady Cordelia, forgive me, but I cannot marry you. My heart belongs to another. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cordelia's face flushed crimson. You're refusing me? For some common woman? For an uncommon one? Nicholas bowed shortly. Excuse me, I have a witch to save. He ran from the ballroom, leaving scandal exploding in his wake. Catherine called from her sitting room. Nicholas. He stopped, turned. His mother stood in her doorway, stronger than she'd been in months. That woman saved my life. Go save hers. Catherine pressed a folded paper into his hand. My testimony, and I've written to every influential woman I know. You won't fight this battle alone. Nicholas kissed her cheek and ran. He reached Willowmere after riding 2 horses nearly to death. The estate was in chaos. Tenants surrounded the house in a protective circle, preventing the constables from entering. Mrs. Pritchard stood at the front door with a rolling pin. Davies blocked the servants' entrance. Nicholas pushed through the crowd. Where is she? The priest Hole, Your Grace, Mrs. Pritchard whispered. With the child. The lead constable stepped forward. Your Grace, we have a warrant. I'm aware, and I'm invoking my rights as lord of this manor. You'll not take anyone from my property without my consent. The law supersedes. Does it? Nicholas's voice cut like a blade. I'll see you in court. Every one of you. For trespassing, harassment, and attempting to kidnap my guests. The constables retreated, but Nicholas knew it was temporary. They'd be back with reinforcements. The trial was inevitable now. He found Genevieve and Thea huddled in the hidden room behind the library wall. Genevieve's arms wrapped protectively around her daughter. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I brought this on you." "No. Wainwright did. And I'm going to destroy him." Nicholas knelt beside them. "The assizes convene in 1 week. I'll defend you myself." "Nicholas, you can't. You'll be ruined." "I'm already ruined. I refused Lady Cordelia in front of half of London society." He smiled grimly. "Might as well make the scandal worthwhile." Thea looked up at him with solemn eyes. "Are you going to be my papa now?" The question hung in the dusty air. Genevieve made a choked sound. Nicholas met the child's gaze directly. "If your mother will have me. If we survive this." He looked at Genevieve. "I meant what I said in the fever. Every word. Nicholas. Marry me. After the trial. Win or lose, marry me." Genevieve's eyes filled with tears. "You're impossible." "Is that a yes?" "It's a ask me when we're not hiding from the law." Nicholas laughed despite everything and kissed her there in the darkness, tasting salt and hope. The trial came too quickly. The courthouse overflowed with spectators. Dr. Wainwright had made it the event of the season, playing to public fears about women who stepped outside their prescribed roles. Nicholas sat beside Genevieve at the defendant's table, a duke in a courtroom defending an accused witch. The whispers were deafening. Wainwright's testimony was damning. He painted Genevieve as a dangerous charlatan who'd poisoned minds and bodies, who practiced dark arts under cover of medicine. "She treats the poor for free," Wainwright proclaimed. "What honest physician does that? Clearly, she seeks to bind them to her through unnatural means." Nicholas rose. "Or she treats them because they're human beings who deserve care. Novel concept for you, Doctor." "Your Grace," the magistrate warned. "You will show respect to the witness." Nicholas pulled out his evidence. Medical texts from Edinburgh and Paris. Testimonies from every tenant Genevieve had saved. His mother's written statement describing her miraculous recovery. European physicians testified via written deposition that Genevieve's methods matched their own. Nicholas brought forward the baker's wife and her healthy baby, the boy with the saved leg, Tommy with his conquered fever. One by one, they spoke. Simple people with simple truths. "She saved my life. She saved my child. She's no witch. She's an angel." But Wainwright was relentless. "These are ignorant peasants who don't understand what they saw. The woman used unnatural means." "Show me." Nicholas's voice rang through the courtroom. "Show me one unnatural thing she's done. She uses plants. She uses knowledge. She uses her hands and her mind. What's unnatural about that? Women aren't meant to possess such knowledge." "Why not?" Nicholas turned to face the packed gallery. "Because it threatens you? Because admitting a woman can heal better than you destroys your monopoly on medicine? How many people have died because you bled them? How many mothers, like my sister, died screaming because drunk surgeons and superstitious midwives were their only options?" "Your Grace." The magistrate pounded his gavel. "You forget yourself." "No. I finally remembered myself." Nicholas faced the judges. "Gentlemen, you can convict Dr. Ashford. You can call medicine witchcraft and brilliance evil. But you'll do it knowing that you're condemning the very person who could save your wives, your daughters, your mothers when they need her most." The courtroom erupted in argument. The magistrate called for order. And then a small voice cut through the chaos. "May I speak?" Every head turned. Thea stood at the back of the courtroom, her hand raised. The magistrate frowned. "Child, this is not." "Please, sir. She's my mama. I should get to speak for her." Genevieve half rose. "Thea, no." But the magistrate, perhaps moved by the girl's courage, nodded. "Approach." And so we return to that moment. Thea climbing onto the witness stand. The courtroom holding its breath. The prosecutor leaned forward. "Tell us what your mother does in the dead of night." "She studies." Thea's voice was clear and sure. "She reads Papa's medical books by candlelight because she's not allowed to during the day. She memorizes which plants help and which hurt. She practices stitching on pieces of leather so her hands are steady when she sews up real cuts. And the words she speaks over the dying. She tells them they're going to be fine. She tells them to breathe. She tells them she won't let them go." Thea's eyes shone with tears. "My mama doesn't speak to demons, sir. She speaks to fevers, to pain, to fear. She speaks courage into people when they have none left." The prosecutor tried again. "But how does she know these things? Where did she learn such unnatural knowledge?" "From my papa. He taught her because he said God gave us minds to learn and hands to help. That's all Mama does. She helps." Thea turned to the judges directly. "If helping people is evil, then I want to be evil too. But I don't think it is. I think you're just scared of her because she's better at this than you are." Silence. Then someone in the gallery began to clap. Another joined. Soon half the courtroom was applauding this 7-year-old girl who'd spoken truth to power. The magistrate banged his gavel, but even he looked moved. The final witness changed everything. The chief magistrate's wife, Lady Pemberton, stood and asked to testify. Her husband tried to stop her, but she walked to the stand with quiet dignity. 2 years ago, I gave birth to my daughter. The labor was wrong. I was bleeding, dying. The surgeon said to prepare for my death. She looked directly at Genevieve. Dr. Ashford was passing through our village. She came when my maid begged her. She saved me and my baby through skill and knowledge. I made her swear never to tell anyone, for fear of what it would mean for my husband's position. Lady Pemberton turned to her husband. But I will not stay silent while the woman who saved my life faces death for it. Convict her, and you convict me too. The magistrate stared at his wife, then at Genevieve, then at the papers before him. The jury will deliberate. 2 hours felt like 2 lifetimes. Nicholas held Genevieve's hand under the table, feeling her pulse race. The jury returned. Not guilty on all charges. The courtroom exploded. Nicholas pulled Genevieve into his arms as she shook with relief. Thea launched herself at both of them, and they stood there, the 3 of them, a family forged in fire. But Nicholas wasn't finished. One more thing. He raised his voice over the celebration. "I have evidence that Dr. Wainwright has been deliberately prolonging illnesses to maintain his fees. I'm calling for an investigation into his practices." Wainwright's face went purple. "You have no proof." Nicholas smiled coldly. "I have my mother's medical records. I have testimonies from families who've lost loved ones to your treatments. I have everything I need." Within a month, Wainwright was stripped of his position. Within a year, he'd fled to the continent in disgrace. The greenhouse proposal came on a golden autumn evening. Nicholas brought Genevieve to what had been their sanctuary and showed her the plans. A medical facility, a lying-in hospital for mothers, a dispensary for the poor, training rooms for women who want to learn. He took her hands. "This is my proposal, Genevieve. Not just marriage, but partnership. Build this with me. Change the world with me." "Nicholas." Her voice broke. "The scandal, the cost. Worth it. You're worth everything." He knelt before her. "Marry me. Be my duchess. Let me stand beside you while you save the world." Genevieve pulled him up and kissed him fiercely. "Yes. God help us both, yes." Thea, watching from behind a planter, squealed with delight. They married at Willowmere Chapel with tenants crowding the pews and Catherine crying happy tears. Thea served as flower girl, solemn in her duties until she tripped and scattered petals everywhere, then dissolved into giggles. Nicholas kissed his bride surrounded by laughter and healing herbs, tasting joy and tomorrow. 5 years later, the Ashford Harcourt Medical Institute was the talk of England. Women came from across Europe to train under Dr. Genevieve Harcourt, Duchess of Stonebridge. The lying-in hospital had the lowest maternal death rate in the country. Catherine played with her grandchildren, Thea taught younger students anatomy, and Nicholas split his time between managing the estate and fighting in Parliament for women's education rights. In the greenhouse one evening, Nicholas found his wife teaching a class of eager young women about medicinal compounds. Thea stood beside her, already a skilled assistant at 12, with dreams of Edinburgh University burning bright. Genevieve noticed him and smiled, that same smile that had captured him when he was delirious with fever and falling in love. He mouthed, "I love you." She mouthed back, "I know." Their youngest daughter, 5-year-old Catherine, tugged his hand. "Papa, Mama's teaching about foxglove, the same plant that saved Grandmama." Nicholas scooped her up. "Is she now? And Thea says when I'm older, I can learn too. I'm going to be a doctor like Mama." Nicholas looked at his impossible, brilliant, beloved family and thought of the night he'd come home unexpectedly to find a widow and her child in his house. The best things in life, he'd learned, came from the moments you didn't plan, from the scandals you didn't avoid, from the love you chose despite the cost. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of love that defies all odds. Share this with someone who needs to remember that true love is worth fighting for, even against the whole world. And drop a comment telling us what you loved most about Nicholas and Genevieve's journey. Until next time, remember that the best romances aren't the easy ones. They are the ones worth the battle.